Morning all. How we doing this morning? Nice and fresh, hey? Sun's out, beautiful day, and I'm in the workshop under lights and cameras and stuff. Should be outside really. Let me just scan back over the chat quickly. I'm out of shot. Who's woke up early? Morning Pete, morning Leroy, morning Lawrence, morning Peter, morning Malcolm, morning Andrew, morning Four Kings, morning Andrew. Oh, Mike Walt, you got the right day and you're early. What's going on? Morning Mike, morning Colin, morning David. Morning. Just the basic. I'm looking at the screen rather than the camera. Morning Paul, Woodworm Paul. Morning Tony.
I'm not sure we can see you.
Morning Paul. It runs a few seconds behind. I was over there. Morning Steve. Morning Pat. Yeah, the other unit has got to be plumbed in, but I'm going to mess around with that indoors for a couple of weeks. Morning Andrew, how you doing? Morning Nigel. I still haven't sorted out the microphone. I'm going to give up now and get another one. Morning Robert, morning Kevin, morning Anne, morning James. I keep persisting with this microphone and yeah, hopefully you can hear me okay. I've tweaked and messed about with it, but it's going to have to bite the bullet and get another one. Morning Stephen, morning Nick, morning Fred. See, if I talk too loud you get a ring. Stand this way a little bit. Stand this way a little bit. Do a little shuffle. Morning Design and Make. Morning Leslie. Morning Nick. Morning Martin. All good here Andrew, all good here. I like it when the sun's out. Yeah, it'd be fun Pat. Looking on that, there was loads of extra bits. And I think I can get away without using green screen and having a picture behind, because you can have your picture in front of you or behind you. Having a couple more cameras, so when I sharpen I could have a camera on the Pro Edge. I'll stand this way. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Need to reply to Four Kings.
Four Kings. The question was the
Hollow Pro.
The Hollow Pro. Yeah, I'm going to bring it in. I haven't got one here to show you today, but I think for hollowing, for some people it might be useful, but has got a restriction. So yes, I will be stocking them. Morning Mo, morning Dave, morning John. 11 cameras with both ATEMs.
No.
Pat. That would be. Being how we use 8 inputs is blowing my mind a little bit. 11, that'll push me over the edge. That'll finish. Morning Elena. Morning anybody I've missed while I'm waffling on. No, Brian, we're not on the Extreme this morning. The Extreme is going to be played with indoors and set up and messed about with, so I can learn a bit more about this stuff. I've just trod on something, it's my airline. But I'm looking forward to having a play. I've just got to set up a second rig, really. Quite funny watching the video, because you do something and it's that delay. Morning, Durries. Thanks, Clive. I tried to look my best. It's a little bit blurry, the picture, isn't it? I don't know what's gone on there. It was all right earlier. Yeah. Morning, Michael. Morning, Paul. Morning, anybody I've missed. Morning, morning.
Did you see the question from Just the Basic?
What was that question?
Are the Robert Sorby chucks, I should imagine, any good?
The Patriot chucks, yeah, they're good. I run, I think I've got 3 or 4 of them, and I use them, and you know, for most things, they're spot on. Morning, Philip. G'day, Chris. Yeah, but the new Nova Protect, I mean, that's going to take a bit of beating. Morning, Trevor. It's going to take a bit of beating because the Nova 2, same size as the Patriot. Morning, Martin. The Nova 2 Protect is, I think, as good. The back plate is different. The Sorby's got a nice alley sealed back plate. The Nova 2 is, I think it's a nylon back plate from memory, but they've got a new coating on it, and it's 60 quid cheaper or something. So, you know, more than anybody I've missed. Yeah, I'm just looking at my screen, Stephen, and it's just looking, it might be dust on the screen, of course, you know.
Or glue.
Or glue. Ain't any paint on it yet. Morning, Adrian. Morning, Alf. Morning, Roy. Morning, Hans. How are we doing? We're at 10 o'clock. Right. Morning, Andrew. Okay, that's enough of the mornings. What we're going to do today is something a bit different because we turn bowls and oliforms and colour them and da-da-da. So I thought, well, let's talk about the way I tackle hollowing, and if I'm teaching, the way I would teach hollowing to someone that wanted to start. And I've got a whole selection of hollowing tools, a couple of which I obviously stock, and a lot of them I don't stock, just to show you differences in different manufacture of hollowing tools. If you're going to take hollowing seriously, then you're going to find that you're going to need more than 1 or 2 tools. You'll end up with an army of them. Maybe it's because woodturners just like buying tools, I don't know. But I seem to have amassed a whole collection over time. Morning, Miss T. Michael, good morning. Morning, Timothy. Oh no, it won't be morning, Timothy, will it? Morning, Ray. Morning, Stuart. Right, so what we're going to do, let's swip over to a camera. What I'm going to use is a bowl blank to start with. I've got a big bit of wood that we can do a vase. I'll show you something as we go along. But a bowl blank so you can see the cuts and I can explain things as I do it. And let's hope that it's interesting and without accident. Right, morning Vicky. Let's go over to the, I don't know what camera I've got to go to. Maybe that one? Ooh, look at that. And let's take the key off of it and go to camera 2. Let's go to camera 2 like that. I've only got a couple of cameras and I'm struggling. So, just got a bowl blank here. It's out of round, so I am going to just turn it to round. Not that I need to for what we're going to do, but if you're watching it spinning round and it's all over the place, it's going to look a little bit office. So, safety glasses on. obviously face shield is the way to go, but with the microphone and that, I don't think we're going to have, well, famous last words, too many problems. But if you're doing this at home, face shield. Turn that by hand, make sure we're all locked down, normal sort of stuff. Turn the lathe on, advance the speed a little bit. And I'm just going to whip this to round, he says. Now, I'm purely doing this so on the camera you don't get seasick. One of my better pieces of wood, just going to come back the other way, just to neaten it up a little bit. Right, I had to stop talking there because I was coming that way, shaving was coming straight in my face. Just round, this is another bit of my super wormy wood. You get all the best wood on here, all the old rubbish that I've got. That camera, this mic is awful. Right, I'm just bringing up a false nut, and we're just going to drill a centre hole, much the same as if you were doing a hollow form, but doing it like this you can see what's going on. So we go about 2 inches. About 2 inches is just about there. I've got a rough guide to where I'm going, so I'll turn this on, feed this in. You can see that. Now, tip, if you're doing a hollow form true and you're boring down, don't forget to wind the drill bit, Forstner bit, whatever you're using back, because as you go deeper the shavings will build up in there, and then your bit will be stuck in the piece. So you just back wind it to release the shavings. I'm just going to go to about there, that will do for that. Bring that out of there, get that out of there. Bashed the camera already. What I've done is I've got the camera on a traveller so that I can slide the camera in and out, because I wanted to get in a bit and keep the zoom in focus and all sorts of rubbish like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, this is where the Saltby hollowing jig will be a problem for me, because I always hollow out here off the side of the bed, but obviously the jig has got to sit over the bed, and then you're coming in at the end of the bed, or you're hollowing sideways. With cameras on, here's a camera right here, that's a bit difficult. So, but they will give you tool support for hollowing, and if you've got bad back and that sort of stuff, might be useful. So I'm just going to bring that out to about there. I'm just checking that camera as I go. I've even remembered my glasses today, look. They're the ultra powered ones. We're not going to do anything too finicky, so it won't matter. So I'm going to bring my tool rest up, and I just want to check where I want to cut. I want to cut just here, about 8 o'clock if it was a clock face. That's where I hollow. And I'll bring the tool rest back a bit so I get the bar, whatever tool I'm using this is, on here. And then I tilt the cutter over slightly to sort of 8 o'clock. So I don't know how clear you can see that. If we zoom that in a little bit more.
What's the difference between a closed form and a hollow form?
Right. A hollow form. The definition, as I understand it, of a hollow form is the opening is smaller than the diameter of the piece. That's the definition of a hollow form. A vase is when, and we'll do a vase a bit later on, a vase is when the opening is the same size-ish as the diameter of the piece. But this, we'll get into a hollow form in just a minute. So on here, then I have the tool into my side, and I'm just controlling this cutter, and with a twist of the hip into the lathe, which you can't see on this camera. I don't know if one will show us that. Yeah, one. No, you can't really see that. There, you can just pick me up there. I twist in. So when you're hollowing, you work really from the centre outwards. So let's go back to 2. So we turn the lathe on. We just pick the cut up here, feed it in, twist into the lathe and take more and more out, as simple as that. Now I'm going to have a trouble getting right the way out here because of the camera. I can do it, I'll just get a shorter tool. So that's the basics of hollowing. Now the reason I would teach this on a bowl blank is you can see what's happening and you just get used to doing this action and going in. If you open the cutter up to here, flat, 9 o'clock, it can be done in the same way, but the cut becomes more aggressive, so you remove more material. The tool I'm using at the moment is my preferred little go-to hollowing tool, and this is the Simon Hope. Get that in there. Just a 6mm carbide cutter, and it's on a straight bar. Hold on, let's come back to this camera. It's on a straight bar. Get it in the shop somewhere. There. Now this one's in a handle. This is the way they come normally, and you got a couple of grub screws in the top, and you can take out the straight tip and put in this hook tip. Okay. Now, because I'm me, I get a little fed up. I keep undoing Allen keys, so I've got one set up in a hook tip and one set up in a straight tip. Now, so I can do this, take this one with the handle away. Let's swap the cameras back, sorry. So, we're back. So I can do this with a straight handle and the tool's shorter, so it gives me more room to come round. So I just go back to my straight tool. I take that out of the handle. And now I've got a shorter tool, and I can come in and I can get further out as I go. There. Doing it this way, you can see what's going on. You could use, if you're not going too deep, this, a shorter tool like this. So we zoom that out a bit. Now that's a shorter tool, and this would be okay. We can move the tool rest up closer, and this would be okay for something when you're not going too deep, you know, 3 inches over the tool rest, or a bit less. And this is the Simon Oak mini tool, so you've got these cutters. So these are my preferred cutters. Now what I've done there is I've used my handle as a pivot, my left hand as a pivot point, and I'm literally turning that off my wrist. I'm just pushing my arm forward to get the cut. Now you can see that removes wood very, very quickly. If I want to create a hollow form and get under this lip, that's when I start using the hook tip, because I can come in. Oh, let's move that back. The reason I have to move it back is you've got a chamfer on the tip and you want the solid bar on the tool rest. So if I come in here, just going to bring this under a bit. Now if I do that, let's turn that keyer off, camera 2, there we go. So that's better. Let's get it up a bit closer. A lot to remember, switching cameras and all sorts. I've got to teach Karen how to switch cameras. Now I can cut in both directions if I'm gentle. Let me get that out of the way. So I can cut in both directions if I'm gentle, pushing backwards and forwards, because it's a completely exposed round tip. When I'm hollowing something like this, and for teaching, people get worried where the cutter is and what they're cutting. Well, when you're doing a big open form, you look on the opposite face there and you can see your cut line, so you can work out exactly where your cutter tip is. And now you see we're sort of undercutting this, and this is how you would do a true hollow form. But don't dive into doing very small opening hollow forms when you first start. Get used to the tool on a pole blank so you can see exactly where you're at, and that is the best way to go about it. Now you get various tools. You get shielded cutters and unshielded cutters. The advantage of a shielded cutter is you can reduce the amount of cutting edge that's exposed, or you can have a bigger gap and it will cut more wood. This is a wood cut here, and if we come in here, these you see are not cutting well down there at all. And what I find with the wood cuts and the shielded cutters, I have to raise my tool rest and then start cutting on centre. Or it could be just blunt there. Sorry? How long does the tip last? they last for ages. They're a little carbide tip, little 6mm carbide cutter, and you're only cutting off a couple of mil. So it's got a torque screw in the head. You just let that off, turn the cutter, advance the cutter around a little bit, lock it back down, you've got a fresh cutting edge. They last for ages. What you've got to be careful of all these open cutters is when you move them with your fingers, you can slice your fingers quite easily. So that's something to be wary of. So that's a shielded cutter coming in, but you have to use these, I found, on centre rather than down here, and they can be a little aggressive if you move the shield back and expose more cutter. This is another shielded type cutter, the Rolling Monroe, and you can get in with the rollies quite well. See, they remove a lot of shavings very quickly. Obviously, if you're turning a bit faster, they remove a bit faster. So you get these shielded cutters, the Simon open cutters. There's other manufacturers of these sort of things, and you use the tool that suits you. The other thing to look at with these, on dry wood it's not so bad, but on wet turning you get a lot of sap, and you see you've got 2 grub screws there and they're already filling up with dust and shavings. Well, if you've got sap, they plug the grub screws, and if you let it go hard, just leave it, it's a real bugger to get out. You're better off cleaning these out as soon as you've finished. Or the other thing that you can do is just put a bit of candle wax in the head of the screw, then the sap's over the top, and then you flick it out from there. Do we send to Malta? We do send to Malta. There's been a few issues with shipping to Europe and since Brexit, but they're slowly getting on top of it. We've had parcels that have been held at custom point for no reason. Paperwork's all in order because we've been used to doing these commercial invoices for some time, and I don't know what happens. They just sort of hold it. We had one that we sent to Spain. 5 weeks later it was returned to us for no reason. So it's bizarre, really. So back to this. So if we want to undercut further, we have to get round further. Now this is why I have my tool rest and headstock turned out, because I can get in there quite well normally. I can't at the moment because I've got this great big camera right on my right shoulder, so it's stopping me from getting round. So we'll brush that away. Oh, now this will cut on a higher level. I just prefer to cut lower. Now we've really started to get an undercut and get down to our depth line there at the bottom. So undercutting, you need a hook to get in there, and And straight hollowing, like we're going to do on a vase in a minute, you can just do on a straight tip. Now the advantage of some of these hollowing tools, the wood cuts for instance, you'd end up having 3 tools. If I bring them into shot there, you've got a straight tip, then you've got a slightly hooked, and then you've got like a swan neck. Some of the tools, Simon hopes you've got a straight and then a hook tip. Some of the tools, like the Rolly and the Silky tool, let's get that. You've got an articulated head. So with letting off the screws on this one, screws, you can rotate the head to get any shape that you want around. So you can really get under the work. If I come there, you can see I can shape that round and really get underneath there. And if we bring this back. Do I use hollowing tools on open bowls? Yes, on big bowls, really deep bowls. I've got a bowl in the shop that's 20 odd inches in diameter, about 10 inches deep, and I found it easier when I got in there to get a hollowing tool and hollow it out rather than use a gouge, because the gouge was too far over the tool rest. Let me show you. Hold on a second. Let me come back to the intro. Won't be a sec. I'm coming through, I'm back. I'm just going to do a bit of dusting. Right. So, there. And something like that, I used a hollowing tool. And you can sort of gauge the size of it by me, and it was fraught with a few problems. As you can see, there's a few voids in the back there. So that I ended up using a hollowing tool for, because I found it easier. It's a big heavy thing, so let me go and put it down. So we can use hollowing tools to hollow bowls, yeah. It is the right tool for the right job, realistically. You can get in with bowl gouges, but you're a long way over the tool rest. You need a big handle. If you've got a hollowing tool and you can use it, it's easier to fish it out this way. So, you know. Yeah, we were coming to that.
And what about Simon's hollowing jig?
Simon's hollowing jig. Right, Simon's hollowing jig. I consider myself a wood turner, so I personally don't like using jigs very much. I want to be able to do it freehand. I've got a Simon hollowing jig, and we did a video with it sometime last year. And they're really good, especially if you've got bad shoulders, bad backs, all that sort of stuff. it takes all the pressure out. If you're doing a lot of hollowing, there is pressure on the shoulder and back and so on and so forth, even if you're cutting well. So hollowing jigs are good. And if I was doing a production run of hollow form, sometimes in the past, not so much at the present, I would have, I don't know, 20 or 30 logs that were wet that I was going to green turn and leave to dry. I used to have a stack of them under the lathe, and if I'm doing a day's worth of hollowing like that, then quite often I'd fit the jig up and just use the jig to get it out, because I knew I was going to be there for the day. But if I'm just doing one, by the time I've got the jig out and set it up and it's a small one, I'm probably halfway hollowed, to be fair. So that's the way I do it. But they are good. All these hollowing jigs are good. They won't stop you getting a catch if you're ramming it in as hard as you can. But they do take the pressure off your back and that sort of thing. So,
Mike wants to know if we ship to Canada.
Canada, yeah, we ship to Canada and the USA now. We've sorted out the insurance to do that. It was a bit of an issue. A lot of the insurance companies don't want to touch it. But we can do that. Now, let me just drop this down. What I want to do is open this front up a bit now, so we can get down to the bottom, and hopefully I can get, oh, won't get it there. We can get down to the bottom. You can see that little drill mark in the bottom, and that's what we're going to tackle in a moment. I'll just open this up so you get a better shot in there. Actually, what I'll do, what I might do for a bit of speed, is just whip this away with a bowl gather. Be able to see that quite clearly. Good. So just whip that away with a bowl gouge to show you how we tackle the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I want my tool rest, so I'm coming in sort of horizontal. You can drop your handle a bit to get the tip up there. So as I come in now, I can just pick the tip up there. Just brush it along. Still got a little mark in there. And what I did there is I actually tipped the tool over to some more like 7 o'clock and picked up the top of the tip and brushed it away. Now you can see that that mark's gone. And this is why I always recommend, when you start hollowing, use a bowl blank. Don't start making it difficult for yourself. Use a bowl blank and you can see exactly what's going on, and practice this first until you get to the point that you're comfortable with that, and then start going deeper and bigger and all the rest of it, and closing the neck in, because when you can't see the cutter at all, it's all about feel, and you can't be heavy-handed with it. So start with a bowl blank, do a few bowl banks, you know, hollow a bowl like it. There's nothing to stop you hollowing your bowls with a hollowing tool. Sorry?
Autofocus is messing up.
Autofocus is messing up. Hold on. Let's have a look. Might be that dust. That fixed it. Handy to have an airline on your camera equipment, that's what I say. So we can just come round here. Now, we've got a little bit of torn grain in here, and you can tidy that up as well with a hollowing tool. Is you just cut lighter. And we're just brushing the tool around here. Got no pressure on the tool, well, enough pressure so it don't fly out of my hand obviously, but no real pressure, and I can just brush away with that. And because I'm moving my body, I can just follow the same arc around. Manual focus when the wood's spinning. That's what Mr. Mike says. Ah, no. That's the blank. It's on the edge here. That blank is vibrating. That's why I trued it up a bit. And I could true it up a little bit more on this edge. Unless, hold on. No, my head stops not bouncing around. Don't worry about the outside bit, just look at the middle. Be drawn into the middle. Now the focus went there with my finger. Right, okay. I can see what you're saying. I ain't got time to mess about with it, but I will reset the cameras. Right, okay, so that's how you get rid of your bottom bit. And that's how we go about hollowing and learning how to hollow with the different tools. Now, what I was saying earlier is you've got these fixed tips. With something like the Salt Bee and the Rolling Monroes, you can articulate the head so that you can come in and get right under with just a little bit of movement, which is quite useful. Let's see if this is the right sort of height for this. Hold on. Let's make that a bit higher. There. So I find we're cutting on centre now. I don't use my Salt Bee tool very much. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I find the head very big and bulky. And it's alright if you're doing a big open neck thing and it does remove the wood well, but I'm here, zoom that out a little bit, and I've got this collar here. So I'm now, it doesn't much matter because when you're hollowing deeper, you are further away from your tool. But I'm gonna, just to get into something like this, I need to be, I don't know, 5-6 inches off of the wood. So I've got a lot of overhang just to come in close. If I was going deep, big open vase, this tool's ideal because it's got a nice big head. I can articulate it exactly where I want it. I haven't got too much movement and I can go in. But if I'm doing a smaller piece or a very narrow opening, then this is a bit, I find it a bit big. But it's probably one of the strongest hollowing tools with this articulation here. Where the Rolly, and I've got that in 2 sizes, there, you see, the head's all built into the shaft, so I can bring my tool rest up and I've got a lot less overhang. And you know, anytime you can get less overhang, the better, realistically. So, and this articulates on 2 grub screws. The other thing that Rolly had done, which is quite clever actually, is they've actually put their grub screws underneath, so they don't get bothered by the sap if you're wet turning, which I find quite useful. I don't know. I find with the roller, you've got to find the sweet spot for cutting. And I think they work much better on end grain. Don't forget we're doing this the wrong way round. We're on bowl blank grain. Once you get that shaving flying off of there, they stream off. Might be a little bit blunt as well, a bit of crap in it, but they stream off really well. Now what I've got to be careful of is where I've gone a bit deeper on a bowl blank, I'm getting down close to my socket in the bottom. So that is how I would start hollowing, and encourage anybody that is going to holler to start. So let's get rid of that. And then let's get a vase up. Now, hollowing as a demonstration can be a little boring because obviously the tools, I've got so many places to put things, I don't know where to put them. Most of it's inside the hollow form. Ideally what you'd add is a camera mounted on the tip of your hollower and you could see the shavings live view. Okay. I had to think there for a minute and my little brain cell wouldn't work. I've only got 1 today, I haven't got me 2 in gear. I'm getting rid of this chuck, you'll see why in just a second. Because we're going to move in with this. There, you got there. It's a much bigger piece of wood, so I've got a big set of jaws on it. More grip force because I'm on end grain, so I can crush down as much as I like. Now this is not the best bit of wood in the world. It's something I've had under the lathe for a while. If we zoom back in, slide this thing back out, you can see the grain there is awful. It's all rotten away. So, but it'll do for what we want to do as a demonstration on it. So in the same way, I'm going to bore a hole just in the end. Now, because I put a new bit of wood in, let's turn the speed down, turn it up. Yeah, that'll be alright. Red stop, red stop. Find me hollowing tool. Just a bit off the chuck. Bring that up. So once you've practiced with your bowl blanks and you've got that, You can't see much at the moment, no, because I've zoomed out. I was on the grain when I, there we go, how's that? Right, so what we're going to do now is hollow this. So once you've done your bowl blank, then what I would suggest is start on a vase. So this is a nice bit of wood. You can hear how crunchy it is to start. And back the bit out, forward again, back the bit out. Actually, I think I could blow this piece of wood out with an airline. Don't need a tool. Now I've got to advance the towel stock because I've gone beyond its travel, and what I end up doing is I sort of feed that backwards and forwards along the lathe bed. Now a little tip: when you're holding, supporting the chuck, and I would support the chuck when you're boring down, don't be tempted to hold on to it at the front where the teeth are, because if the chuck slips in the mandrel, it just rips the inside of your hands. Not that I've ever done that, of course, much. That'll be alright, I'll just do it like that, bang. So in we go. Somewhere there will do us. I'm not going to go too mad. Let's get that out of the way. I'm trying to carefully bring this back, not hit a camera, not hit the tripod, not do this, not do that. Far easier turning, just turning. Right, so I'm going to bring this out in the same way, because I think you get a better shot with the camera as well. Move the tool rest prone, you donut. Plumb. Bring that back as far as I can there. And now we're into this. I'm going to bring my tool rest over, get the maximum support out of it, keep it under the centre bar if I can. I don't know what this is going to cut like, that's a bit close. So, this might be a little bit problematical. We'll find out. So I can come in, let's turn a bit of speed on there. No. See the whole lathe's bouncing there, that was a bit too quick. Run it 500 here. Something's bouncing in the ear. And drop that tool rest down a little bit. You can see this is not cutting well at all, and that is purely the wood. Nothing to do with the wood turner, it's just chipping out. But the same action as we did on the bowl blank. pivoting myself round. I'm just trying to get this wood removed a bit, because we come on to the next part of hollowing. I couldn't find a nice log to use, and I thought, oh, I've got that bit of wood that's been sitting under the lathe for don't know how long, I'll use that. Big mistake. This is an awful bit of wood. Blocking you out, am I? Thank you very morning, Steve, and thank you very much, Steve. Right. We're imagining, cool, look at the state of that. That's pretty bad. I didn't realise it was that bad. This is not good hollowing wood. Anyway, it will demonstrate what we're going to do. Now, as we're getting deeper, we've got more tool over the tool rest. And the further you go down, the more you've got. Once you get above sort of 4 or 5 inches over the tool rest, you want more handle behind you for the counterbalance. So that's why I quite like these Opie tools, because I can just slide her into a handle. Let's come back to there. I can just slide this tool now, there, into a handle, like so. Feed that in, lock it down, and now I've got a lot of balance behind me. Can I come back and zoom this out a little bit? Oh, I can't do that, can't reach it. So I've got a lot of handle behind me now, so that will act as a counterbalance for coming in. So think about what you're hollowing. See, I can cut backwards and forwards. And the advantage of doing a big open vase, use a better bit of wood. This is ridiculous. I didn't realise it, honestly didn't realise it was that bad. But the advantage of doing a bigger vase now is I'm going to start losing my cutter down in a depth where I can't see it, but I can see a lot on the, oh, that camera's no good. Karen didn't tell me to swap the cameras over. Key off camera 2. Sorry people. Karen's watching, I reckon she's gone to sleep. So if you could shout at her or something. I'm gaily talking away there about hollowing and you've got a picture of Oliver's Woodturning logo behind you. And Karen's supposed to be watching the video saying, camera 1, camera 2, do this, do that.
come off.
And we didn't do that, so we failed. So let me come back to this. So we're... Oh, I've got too many buttons. I was just going to push the Stream Deck to turn the lathe on. So what I was doing is I was coming out here with this crunchy piece of wood, and now I can feed the cutter in and out. If I wanted to get a better finish on this piece of wood, which would be difficult, I would just cut that much lighter, like that. But what I'm doing is I'm just working my way down now. And because I've got a lot of handle behind me, I can control the tool. It's not trying to kick out my hand. So, what I was saying is you can now hollow, and if you do a vase, you can look on the other wall and you can see where your cutter is and get used to going deeper in something like this. Well, not a piece of wood like this. I wouldn't recommend this piece of wood to anybody. So, but you can now start going deeper and deeper and feeding down within the bowl. So what we're going to try now is a tool that I've not used before, and that's the Big Brother Hamlet tool. This has got a articulating head on a screw, much like Simon's got an articulating head on his 19mm bar. It's a shielded cutter, so we can get down in and cut there. So let's see what happens with this. There, now I've got that cutter set very lightly on there. If I stop that, red stop. Bring that tool rest up so we're cutting more on centre. Let's try that. Keep going to push the Stream Deck, that's the thing that switches our cameras around. That's cutting quite nicely. Very finely. There. Actually, it's making a better job of that grain. So if I want to cut a bit fiercer with this, I can move the shield, just move the shield a little bit to the cutter. I don't want to go too mad. We're there. I just lock that up. Now I've got more cutter exposed, and we just have to be A little bit lighter, a little bit careful, because they could get a bit fierce. Remove quite a lot of wood quickly, and we're getting deeper into our form. So the shielded cutters, and the cutter is actually cutting this ropey old bit of wood nicer. If I was doing this for real and I've got a piece of wood like this and it's so beautiful that I'm gonna, sometimes it's just the challenge, I would then flip between different hollowing tools to see what one I could make cut this the smoothest, you know. So, but doing it as a big open form to start with, you can see where your cutter is, see what's going on, and work out everything that's happening, and you're not subconsciously thinking, I'm turning blind here, what's going to happen next? So just open the forms and then practice with a big open vase. Then don't do it this size, you know, but I did this size so you get the camera in there and see. Then start going deeper, because the next problem you're going to face when you're hollowing, if I come to the overhead here, see if we can get that right. Next to the, yeah, okay. So we're at the moment about this deep, and the pressures on the tip change a bit. Even if you're cutting fine, just a gentle push pushes that down. But when you start coming down as deep as this, the pressure on the tip is even more so, and the pivot angle is in favour of the tool. So then you start getting longer handle behind you. The rule of thumb is you want 5 inches behind you for every inch over the tip. Or you can weight the handle down to give you that counterbalance, because you don't want the tip doing this. When you get deep, if your tool sounds like a Kango hammer drill, bang, 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 it means that you're not cutting the wood properly, and you'll create a load of ridges, and it's a bit like a spiral inside a bowl. Once you've got those ridges inside, you're going to struggle. You've really got to learn to float the tool over the ridges and knock the high points down. Or the other way to do it is when you get into the big scrapers. I'll bring that up there, zoom that in a bit there. I always move this the wrong way. There. So I've got a big round tip scraper, and if you're going in with a scraper, now you can hear that scraper. I'm just brushing that along, and it's bang, 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 bang. But what that's doing is that's taking out the high points, and because the cutting area is bigger, not pull the high points down, you'll just get a continuous cut. Camera? Oh, Karen just said camera. Took a while.
So it's delayed on me.
Oh, right. Well, I think I was going to sleep. I've been there so long. Sorry. So, we've got this big round scraper.
I'm still not on the end on my camera.
Eh?
This is how delayed I am. I'm still.
Oh, we're running about 20 seconds out here. Right. So, you should be coming over to the camera, obviously.
Now.
So, now we can come in with this big round scraper and slowly feed it around. And we're not pushing it into the side as hard as we can. We're floating it so the scraper's cut and just move it slowly. And what it will do is it will take out the high points. So I've got sort of a firm grip down on my hand here. This hand is firmly holding this to the tool rest, but my actual shoulder and body movement is quite light. And this is where the jigs, like Simon's Oaks hollowing jig, comes into its own. If you're hollowing deep a long way down, having it firm at the back, which the jig does, stops the tip moving up and down so much. And then that's where the Saltby Hollow Master, if that's what it's called, I forgot its name, would come into its own over the lathe bed, Hollow Pro, because you've then sandwiched this bar so it can't bounce around, and if it does pull down, it can't do that on you, it can't lift you up. So that's where they come into their own, and this is where once you're going deeper, you start putting pressure on your shoulder because you're counterbalancing it at the handle end to stop the tip moving around. As you go in deeper, the force will try and bring the tip down. So what you can do is raise your tool rest up a bit. So you're actually aiming to cut just on centre. And as you get in there, you'll just be in that slightly lower position of centre. And that can help you with the deeper forms. So that's a way of getting in and hollowing there. And a scraper, you've got more chance of getting rid of those bump lines with a nice big round scraper than you have with just a little cutter. One of the scrapers that I've got, I forgot to bring it over, is this beast. This is Knowlton, but Simon's got big scraper tips that I keep, and there's loads of them around. But the bigger the tip, the more you're going to be in there just scraping away at that area. But the sort of 25mm type scrapers do an excellent job for deep hollowing. And this is the handle that for the coring system, so it's a real heavy old handle. And with that scraper in there, it's really counterbalanced. So I find that I can come in virtually this deep with this scraper. Overhead, wrong camera. I can come in this deep with this scraper. Whoop, zoom out. I need automatic zooms, Black Magic cameras, that's what I need. You can see I can come in quite a long way with this, because the weight of this handle is probably 4 times heavier than a normal handle. So that's what I would do if I was doing a vase. Big scraper if I've got any bounce lines, and sort it out from there. Now, when you get seriously deep, this is another shielded cutter. Where's the best place to see that? It's probably intro camera again. This is another shielded cutter. If I bring this up to the camera there, just focusing in on it. But these things, the bar I've got here is probably 2.5 foot long, maybe 3 foot, and now I've got a handle on it, so the tool extended out is taller than I am. I mean, it's about 6 foot, maybe more. And then this is how I'll go into something that's sort of 18, 20 inches deep. So this is why you need a selection of tools if you're going to tackle different types of hollowing projects. You would not attempt to hollow something that's, I don't know, 10, 12 inches deep with a little tool like that. This is designed for little hollow forms, little boxes, and you go up in scale of size, length of size and handle for the deeper forms. So that's our vase. So then you would just carry on down, and obviously doing a deeper vase, once you've done one, I would aim to do a vase that's 3 or 4 inches deep. And once you've done that, then go to sort of 6 inches, 6, 7 inches. And once you've done that, aim to do something about 9 inches. Just get used to the feel. And then...
Have you changed cameras? I'm still behind.
No, I'm still talking on here. So, and then you would then aim to try to tackle 12 inch. And if you really want to go for it, then, you know, you can go 18, 20 inches deep, whatever you like, realistically. So let's come back. Ooh, turn that keyer off. Right, so that's how you would do your next phase, in my opinion, of your hollowing. You've done your practiced on your bowl, got comfortable with that, then start doing your depth, going deeper and deeper, and get comfortable with that. I would definitely have a nice scraper to get in there with, because what will happen is you will be a bit taut when you start getting deeper. It's the old mind starts playing tricks with you, and then down you go. Now the other thing, if we come over here, zoom this in a little bit. When we're hollowing, we're working on a central line here. My drill bit's a bit wonky. Can you see that? It's all over. I want a felt pen, really. You can't see the pencil. Hold on. I've got a marker here somewhere. See if this marker shows up better. Oh, that's better. You'll be able to see that. So you drill a line down, and then what you're doing is cutting away like this as you come down, and removing all of this. So that removes there, obviously. So you're removing down as you come down. If you want to neaten up the wall, what I would do is do it in stages. So I would, if I wanted a wall thickness that thin, I'd get to here and then neaten this bit up, and then I'd start cutting away down here and neaten this bit up, and start cutting away down here and neaten this bit up. Where we get into trouble with hollow forms is this area here. And the reason being is you're coming down and feeding out, but when you get to the bottom, you've got to pick that pip up. So you then pick up the pip and work back up on yourself where you're working down, and you get an overlap in there, and that's where we normally shear off the hollow form, because we're coming back, but we come back too far, overlap with the cut we've come down with, weak point, and bang, suddenly you've got a two-piece vase. So when you're using your hollow forms and vases and such like, make sure you've got some thickness calipers, because what you think is happening and what is actually happening can be 2 or 3 different things. So I've got a few calipers that I use here. I'll bring them up. These are the basic Saltby style ones. We got that in there. Zoom that back out a bit. You get more of an idea. These are the basic Saltby type ones. And the way they work is you cramp down on the wood on the inside, and then the tips at the back here show you the distance that you are there. So inside the form you do that, and we're this thick at the moment. Put my hand underneath there. We're that thick at the moment, coming down. The other way of doing it is Simon Hope's calipers have actually got an engraved measurement there. So once you start getting down to thickness, they start at 20 mil. I think the new ones might do 30 or 40 mil. I haven't checked for a while. I think he extended this. But normally you can see where you're getting to. And you can draw lines on it as well, depending what you're doing. And you can see what you're doing as you're going down. And keep checking that all the way down. The other type of caliper you got are these scissor ones, and you can make an adjustment on these to measure. These are Andrew's scissor calipers, and they're quite good. So you can adjust that up and bring it in so you get your depth that you're wanting to do, and you can lock the screw off. So you can then just feed down and make sure that you're at that depth, the right depth away. So these are quite nice. A lot of people like using these. And the advantage with these, with this curve, if you're doing a true hollow form and undercutting, you can get in through the neck and then measure in the inside, because you've got nothing restricting you, so you can see where you're at. So it's well worth having, if you're going to hollow form, different calipers, and then just play around with them and find out what best suits you. And again, if you're hollow forming, you'll land up with multi-sets of calipers. I want to put them somewhere safe. I don't want to put them on the floor because I'll end up standing on them. I've got them on screws hanging on a post. The amount of time I've knocked them off the post is unreal. So that's our basic vase, and then once you've done your vase, then you can come into doing your hollow form and closing the top right over. Now what I'll do quickly, let's just get rid of that quickly, he says. What I'll do quickly, very quickly, is let that off there, bring this back round here, drop that down there, lock that in there. We can come to overhead. We're on overhead. We can zoom that in a little bit. Oh, zoomed it in too far. I'm looking at one. I was trying to look at the YouTube feed, and then couldn't understand why I couldn't see what I was doing. Donut. I'll be able to see that in a while. Crocodile. Right, let's get rid of that. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Now, put that down there. And have I got... I thought I was well prepared, but I wasn't really. Nothing unusual there, is it? One little cylinder of wood. What's that like? That'll do. Sing a song or whatever. I want a little cylinder of wood, and we'll just quickly take this down so you get the idea of a hollow form. Well, that's all right. It's got a big crack in it. Oh well. No expense spared. Any old piece of wood will do. Right. I've been waffling on, and there's a couple of donations coming, I think. Thank you very much, Roy. Thank you very much, Pat, and thank you very much, Paul. Much appreciated. So I'm just going to spin this up. I'll just put this in a expansion mode. I wouldn't normally expand on a cracked piece of wood. Didn't see the crack because it could open up. But it is a bowl blank, so we're coming across rather than. But we'll just see. And we're not going to make a full hollow form. That'll get really boring. Let's turn that on. Just want to bring this round. I will just put a little bit of shape into it. What I will do is just grab a centre. I've got a live centre handy. What have I done with him? Let's use that one. That'll do. Bring that up. Right. Just put a live centre in there to bring it up for extra security. Bit of speed on it, and we'll just create a rough shape for a hollow form. Round a bit. Yeah. I'll be a bit careful there. Oh, that was a catch. I should have not watching, put the tip in the tool rather than down, so that wasn't very good. That's the way not to do it. That'll do us, something like that. Now I'm just going to get rid of that. We'll come back over to the camera 2, zoom that in a little bit, slide that forward, and we'll just adjust that around somewhere there, zoom that in a bit more. There we go. Right, zoom that in. So now we're aiming to do a hollow form. It's not going to be the smallest opening, but just to give you the idea of what we've been doing this morning. That cutter just, oh, it'll do. Not that one. We're not going full depth, we're just now going to put the processes that we've been using into a little bit of practice. so you can see how it works. Now, you're not going to see too much obviously because it's a much smaller thing, but you'll be able to understand hopefully what we've covered. So this is only a small form, so I could go in with just my little tool. We've got a big crack here, so we're not going to go too deep because I can see this opening up. So we're going to come in just below centre, bring this cutter in. That's the tool rested a bit high, about there, and then we can just cut. Right, now, what will happen is as I'm going, that noise is me going a little bit heavy-handed. Right, hold on. Let's zoom that back out a bit, the other way. It's that. Right, you're not going to see too much, but I'll just hold it. As I'm coming in here, I'll do it like that. As I'm coming in here, if I've made a narrow opening, at some point I'm going to start hitting the side of my tool against the opposite face of my opening. So that's when I'd have to come into a hook tip. I've got so many tools laying on this bench, I can't see what's happening. Try that. So now I've got a hook tip, so I can now undercut now. I'm not doing this well. What should happen is this tool should be in my side and I should be leaning round, but if I do that, you're not going to see a thing because I'm going to be in. So you can get the idea. What I'm doing is coming in here, and that hook now enables me to get much further underneath there, and in no time at all there I'm sort of half an inch or so under there, and I can just keep working at that, feeding it back. Let's try side by side cam. Oh, nice picture of the motor. Way to go, Oliver. Key off. Let's go over. Right, so I can now just feed that tool in and bring the handle round a bit, and now I can start coming out to the side there. Because I'm blind here, I can't see what's going on. I need my calipers to feel my wall thickness, and I would check your wall thickness ongoing, and then you'll get used to where you're at. You can feel it once you get used to it, but just double check and double check. You know, far better the old saying, measure twice, cut once. With oliform, you cut once too often and you ain't got oliform anymore. You got a vase or bowl. So that's the way we would cut in and do our oliform with our hook tips. If we've got an articulated head, we can change the angle of approach here to get further round still. And it all depends how wide you're going to make this to the narrowest of openings. You may have to make something up if you're going to like flying saucer it, but it can all be done there. So that's basically our little demo for hollowing. If you want to see any of the tools sharp, I can bring the overhead camera. I've got a board here. Let's get this out of the way, and I can show you the different tools that are done. As I say, I've got all sorts of tools. that I've picked up over the years. And tried, and they've all got their uses, and there's not one tool fits all. I'm just trying to get that there so I can do that. Get that out of there, put that up there. Get a little whiteboard there. Zoom the camera into there. Now, one thing you can do if you're starting out hollowing and you're unsure of the round bar, is a Simon Hope tool, and quite clever. It's not meant for deep hollowing, but it's a square bar, so it sits squarely on the tool rest, and the cutter is already. Come on, Oliver, work out your left and rights. It's like burning the bolt, isn't it? Down a bit, stop. Back a bit, stop. Fire, boom. So you can see that's a square bar, and the tool cutter is already tilted over at a sort of 45 degrees, 7 o'clock angle, and you can just sit that on your tool rest, and all you've got to learn is to feed it backwards and forwards. And there's no way that that'll twist around on you. He's moved it out of camera again. Oliver, sort yourself out. So you can see there, it won't twist around on you. The cutter's in a fixed position, and this is a good way to start hollowing with a square bar, and you can just fish it around there. And then you get into the shielded type cutters, like the big Saltby tool there, and it's the shielded cutter there, the Rolly alongside it, much smaller head with the articulation, or this is the Hamlet Big Brother. It extends out quite a way. They do a smaller one as well. And that's got the shielded cutter. You can expose as much or as little cutter as you want. And the shielded cutters work well when you're wanting to take a fine cut. It helps you because the shield will stop you digging the tool in too far. This is that Big Brother is about, I don't know, that's got to be 3.5 foot long. So that's a good all-round tool. You might find it a bit big if you're just doing small hollow forms like this one, that sort of size. But so that's another way. The Big Brother do different shape arms. Let's flick that back out. Different shape head, so you get this half circle or curve, and then you get like a much deeper curve. I'm bending down here, my old knees have had it, I think. A much bigger curve there for getting right under. So that's the Hamlet Big Brother and Sister tool. The other way of starting the hollowing are something like these Saltby Swan neck tools. This one's got a cutter and a scraper tip. That's more of a scraper tip, but they will get you in, and because of their swan necks you can get round and over. These have got a flat on them, so that the flat sits down on the tool rest to stop it rocking around, which is quite a nice idea. So there's loads of ways to get into hollowing, but there is not a one tool suits all. Think about the size of your hollow forms, what you're going to do, And if you're doing the smaller bits, you can get away with a shorter tool. It's a bit like, the reason why I like this tool, the Hope PCT, is because I can slide down and do relatively small things with it quite easily. I can do medium-sized things as it is, or I can put it in a quick, pull the grips off, put it in a quick release handle, and then do much deeper things. I've managed to do something around about, I think it was about 18 inches deep with this, might have been a bit over. But that's our introduction to hollowing. Let's come back up here to the old face-on camera. Do that.
Thank you, David.
Thanks very much, David. Much appreciated. Very kind of you. So that is the way I tackle hollowing. That's the way I would suggest anybody wanting to tackle hollowing to go about it. Make life easy. Bowl blank. Hollow it out. Then a vase. And then a deeper vase. Deeper vase again. Then start bringing your top over. And by the time you get to that stage, you'll be quite comfortable with your hollowing. So, I hope you found it informative. A bit different to turn a thing and slap a bit of colour on it. Just thought, try and change things a little bit for you this morning. So, I think there was a few questions coming in. If any of you have got a question, just fire away. Thanks very much, Pat. Thanks for stopping by. We'll try and get in the next few weeks cameras everywhere. Well, not quite everywhere, yeah. There's some places where you don't want cameras, isn't there? But yeah, and other bits of whizzy stuff that goes on with it. If not, it'll be up for sale on eBay, second hand. Thank you, Malcolm. Thanks, Hans. Thanks, Michael. Nice tutorial. That's a big word, tutorial. I'm going to the tutorial in a minute. Oh no, wrong thing. Thanks, Lawrence. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks very much. Don't forget, please like, share, subscribe, and you can hit the bell down the bottom there, and that lets you know when something else is coming up. So, thanks, John. Cheers, Alf. Thanks, Rob. Thank you, David. Cheers, Steve.
So we do click and collect.
Thanks, Trevor. What was it?
So we do click and collect.
Oh, I've just been told, yes, we do click and collect.
Shop's not open.
Shop's not open. Don't know when the shop's going to be open, when we're comfortable to do so. Just because the government says we open on whatever it is in April, doesn't mean I'm doing it. And we're going to hold on until we can see what's going on. Realistically, we haven't come a year down the road to open the shop to go and get coronavirus. So, not happening. Cheers, Ian. Thanks, Martin. Cheers, Baz. Thank you, James. Glad you've enjoyed it. Thanks, Clive. Stay safe. Good, Paul. Glad you've learnt something or picked up a tip that you can try. Thanks, Adrian. Thanks, Brian. Glad you've enjoyed it. Cheers, Cyril. Lots of information. May not all be good information if it's come out of my mouth, but hey, I do my best. Thanks, John. Thanks for stopping by. Thank you all for stopping by. My Saturday mornings would not be the same if you didn't stop by.
We'll get some jobs done.
We get some jobs done, Karen's just told me. You keep coming and I can keep coming over here. I've got an excuse not to do the jobs. Cheers, John. If you didn't come by, I could play with me Extreme and see if I can get loads of cameras working. That'd be good. Yeah. But then no one will be there to watch the cameras when I get them working. Yeah, won't do that. Thanks, Mike. Glad you enjoyed it. Right, people. The sun is out. I'm sure it's much warmer out there now as it's nearly 20 to 12. So I am off. I'm going to go and enjoy the sunshine. Please remember, a thumbs up like. That does the channel a lot of good. Doesn't cost you anything to hit the thumbs up. If you enjoy the demos, subscribe, and then you'll know that things are happening. And if you really want to know instantly something's new, hit the bell. There's a bell down there. You click on the bell and it goes bing. Oliver's about. Duck. Have a good weekend. Yes, Lawrence, we ship round the world. Just email us your details and we can work it out. We have to get weights together and sizes of packages and all sorts of rubbish. Then we get quotes on shipping and yeah, but we can ship anywhere. I've been doing so for 8 years, 6 years, whatever it is. I don't know. Right, everybody, I'm going to go and enjoy the sunshine. I'm going to go and get a cup of coffee. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoyed this morning. Hope you've enjoyed it too. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Take care, good luck, and goodbye.